You've put all that work into getting an employee, but it is absolutely useless without having the right recruitment system. So how to recruit them, what to say, the scripts, the process, the funnel kind of layers. Without having that, you're not going to get an A player. Without having the orientation system, you're not going to get an A player. Without having the onboarding system, you're not going to have an A player. Without having the training and the pay scales and the alignment meeting frameworks, you're not going to get an A player.
This is Conquer Contractor Chaos, built for the contractor that's ready to run a business that works for them and creates the life they've been fighting for. Tune in to get the tools, systems, and strategies that are battle-proven to set you free. One move each episode, straight talk, things you can use today. Take your time back. Be home for dinner. Do the work. Lead your crew. Love your family. Conquer the chaos.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Conquer Contractor Chaos podcast. I'm in my office today, which is currently getting renovated, so I don't have my usual lighting setup and all that good stuff to make me look super pretty, so you're going to have to raw dog this one with me. But today, I wanted to talk about something that we all fall into the trap of, which is called project-based recruitment. This is something that we're all kind of forced to do when we're bootstrapping it. Really, project-based recruitment is very much like duct tape, right? It's good in a pinch, kind of solves an immediate problem or kind of temporarily takes away some pain, but it falls apart when the pressure hits. And that's something that we can't really have if we're trying to grow a sustainable scaling business. So, I kind of put it in perspective here. Kind of imagine it if like the pool only went out and recruited when someone was already drowning. It kind of doesn't make sense, right? And the people that we bring into our business are effectively there to catch and solve problems long before they ever arise. And we want to get away from that project-based because it doesn't give us any kind of predictability, right? So speaking of pools, and that's a good analogy, but speaking of pools, the talent pool always seems to be incredibly shallow, especially when you really need someone, right? When you're reactive and you're like, I've got so many jobs on the go, I need to hire someone today. Typically the talent pool never usually produces any kind of great employees and any great numbers. So, that has to stop. That has to stop today. We need to stop being reactive. We need to do more tactics or take more care to have predictable systems in place that are sustainable for growth, that are going to support us long term. Let's take my client, for example. I've got a client, Sean, shout out to Sean on the podcast here, who rush hired a person when he got a little bit busy. But a couple of weeks in, he started to get the sense that this person maybe wasn't a great fit for the business, right? Maybe wasn't a good culture fit, didn't really want to show up and give 110% every day. And unfortunately, he recognized that that person wasn't a fit, but he said, you know what, I'm busy. I need to keep them right now because I need someone to just get me through this kind of busy spell. But here's what happened. Pressure actually got turned up and things got a bit busier, which ultimately led to this person saying, no, you know what, you're pushing me too hard. And they just walked out the door, right? They just left. They bailed. They left him in the shit, which wasn't fair to Sean, right? But here's the thing, is Sean used the I'll fire them later methodology, right? He had that in his mind. Yeah, they're not great right now. They're not a great fit, but I'll fire them later. And I think we've all been guilty of that at some point in time, which usually kind of happens always when we really needed them not to quit. Even though they weren't the best employee, maybe they weren't always the best culture fit, they always seem to leave when things are at their kind of busiest and craziest. And that's something that I've noticed over the years, especially as being a recruiter, but also owning a contracting business as well, is that, when you say I'll fire them later, that's you letting go of letting someone go on your terms and put in their pocket for them to leave on their terms when it's convenient for them, which isn't always convenient for you. So we want to try and get away from that as much as we can. Want to have a system in place where we can hire top talent, we can get them in the door, we can get them orientated, we can get them onboarded, we can start giving them training, we can get them acclimated to being in the business the way that we want this business to be. And we have to do that proactively. You have to intentionally make the investment in people and bring them up to the level that you need to see them at. If you're just grabbing bodies whenever things get busy, you're kind of not doing yourself or your current team or the guys who are the A players any kind of service, because you're just showing them, hey, you're willing to let anybody into this circle, and that doesn't look good for them. So how do we make recruiting for A players a core function in your business? That's the big question. And it starts with realizing that anytime you fire up that recruitment engine, you've already missed several A players. So the answer is to keep that engine rolling full time, keep it idling, keep it ticking away. So we need to start looking at recruitment more like how we look at marketing, for example. We market even when we're full, because we know that we need to get another job after this. We can't just market when we don't have a project on. It makes no sense. We want to keep that momentum rolling and idling in the background so that we're always getting new projects, but also always getting new people. And you'd be surprised how similar recruitment is to recruitment. Super similar, just different products that you're selling. One, you're selling a project. The other, you're selling a job. Very, very similar. So we want to scale up, but again, we want to get into this habit of proactive recruitment. And here's the cool thing. If you get into the system and the right person, and I mean a top-notch A player, wanders across your desk just randomly, even though you're not looking to hire anyone right now, but your little recruitment engine is going, you can always decide to bring that person in and then tick up your market and to get more leads in so that you can keep them busy. And that's always the best problem to have. It's always easier to get leads than it is to get people. So not only that, you've also got the opportunity to upgrade your team members. We typically explain it like our businesses are not families, right? We're not families. There's no underlying obligation. We'll always be here no matter what. We have to be more like an NFL team or a hockey team or a sports team where you have to perform if you want to be here. We can't keep everybody, full-time busy forever. We can't keep everybody on the team if you're performing poorly. We need to get that fixed. We need to let the team know, hey, listen, this is a performance-based business. You get to be here as long as you're performing and as long as you're showing up. Not to say that you can't make mistakes. That's a totally different ballgame. But for the most part, we have to be hiring people and saying, hey, this is performance-based. If that performance lapses and we can't fix it, we're going to have to move on. In an NFL context, we'd have to trade you out at trade-off season. Okay, so we talked about the why, we've talked about the what, let's talk about the how now. And we follow what's called the ABR rule, the always be recruiting rule. And it starts with your daily life. We're going to go through a couple of different methods that you can use to hire your next A player, but I want to give you some ideas here. The concept that I like to put my mind into is that good people know good people. And I want to start with the good people that I already know. So maybe if you've got someone on your team who's already an A player, most likely they're not hanging around with shitheads. They're probably hanging around with good people. So I want to leverage my current team and the current people that I have in the business. And I want to say, hey, who else do you know? And again, it doesn't always have to be a skill set that you're looking for. It could just be that you're looking for a good A player mentality, really high level of attitude, and then we can train for the skill. So start with the people that you already know and ask them, hey, do you know anyone who would be a really good culture fit? We can train them, but we want to make sure that, they've got that attitude there. And then on top of that, you want to provide a little bit of an incentive. You could say, well, hey, if you guys go out and find our next employee for me, then there's something in it for you too. That could be a $250 bonus on day one when they first start, and then another $250 on day 30 once they've been there for a month. Want to keep that kind of initial, here's the initial benefit, but if your buddy stays around for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year, there's also a bonus in it for you too. So to keep them there as well. The next one is going to be to leverage your past clients, especially if you're working with more general contractors, supervisors, site supers, that kind of thing. These guys have a track record of all of their projects in the past of using other trades. There's nothing stopping you from going to a GC that you've spent a lot of time with, that you're working with pretty much exclusively now, and asking, hey, who were you using before and who was the best employee on their team? Now, we're not going to get too deep into poaching today, but it's an option for you to be able to go to that GC or that site super and say, who else have you came across in your time that would be a really good fit to come and work for me? Who is the best cabinet maker that you've ever met? Or who is the best floor layer that you've ever met? and then go and ask them who the best employee was. Again, don't keep skill set tied to this. We're looking for attitude first and then skill set second. So we can leverage our past clients, we can leverage our commercial clients, we can leverage our GCs, our supers, our architects, our interior designers, and say, hey, who did you work with before? Was there anyone on that team that you really enjoyed working with? And if they really like them, they'll be happy to give up their information and say, yeah, you need to speak to Tony over at ABC Cabinetry. He was the best installer I've ever had. He was super communicative. He was on time. He did what he said he was going to do. He wasn't super happy working with ABC, but I mean, maybe he's open to an opportunity. And that's when you ask the magic question. Hey, do you have Tony's number? They'll say, yeah, here you go. Here's Tony's number. They usually do. The next one is leveraging your supplier relationship. So these guys, your suppliers, your sheet goods, your hardware, your materials, the Home Depot staff, the people where you're going to buy your product from, come into contact with other people just like you every single day. They are seeing the best employees, the foremen, the supervisors, the job site managers, the people who are usually running the projects are the ones that they're coming into contact with. And they'll have a handle on who they really like to work with and who they don't like to work with. So leveraging your suppliers, they see the people that you're looking to hire every single day, and they can make a recommendation for you. So make sure you ask. Not only that, there's a couple other options here as well, but you can use your business, like the business that you give to your supplier, you can use that as leverage where you say, hey, if you can help me find a production manager, then I'll give you my business for the year. That could be worth a couple $100,000. That could be worth $100,000. Doesn't matter, right? Like you could say, hey, whoever finds me this next employee is gonna get my business. I've done this personally in my painting company where we would leverage the nice people at Sherwin-Williams or Dulux, and we would say, hey, listen, Dulux PPG. And we would say, hey, like whoever finds us our next production manager is going to get all of our business for the year. That's worth 250, 300,000, and our account managers would be out looking for that. And that worked really well. On top of that, you've also got advertising space within those stores. So asking if you can put up a recruitment poster or put up some business cards or whatever, ask the question. Again, there really is no limitation on how much you can ask for here. Worst they can say is no, in which case you're not any further forward or any further backward. So yeah, go ask your supplier, hey, can I put some posters up? Hey, who do you know? And then last one is just a little bit of an anecdote here, but your network is constantly changing. People that you've met in the past that were busy and working for others, in the past, they might not be in that same situation anymore. So cabinet maker that you spoke to 6 months ago or a year ago, and he was super happy working for his current employer, might not be happy today, right? So I want to keep that in mind. People move around, right? Like that's the one thing about humans is we're wired to move. We're wired to discover new territory constantly and always be moving forward. So, that's a good thing for you. So not only should you, get in contact with them and say, hey, are you happy? What are you up to? But also you should be constantly maintaining relationships. Now, I'm not going to go and teach you the whole process here on this podcast, but if you did want to get an idea of how we do that with our recruitment email campaigns and our recruitment nurturing, then jump into our school course. The link will be in the show notes. Next one is going to be your advertising, right? We're kind of moving categories into generally recruiting outside of our network here. And we're going to go into kind of typical job advertising. And my advice here is that you go cross industries, right? Look at transferable skills, not just the skill set that you need for your specific role or your industry. So we need to be asking the question, what transferable skills does this role have with other roles in the industry? And here's an example. A furniture maker who's worked in a furniture making factory before might have a similar skill set to, say, a cabinet maker. Finishing carpenter might have a similar skill set to what you need for hardwood flooring, for example. So again, you're looking for people who have those transferable skills. The only difference is maybe some equipment and a little bit of training, which we can use to bridge the gap. So we want to be looking at posting our ads up online. If you're using Indeed or Monster or whatever your kind of chosen platform is, you could be using that to post 3 to 5 ads, all with different job titles. You could have a finished carpenter, furniture maker, cabinet maker, whatever, right? You find your little transferable skill roles that are in there, and then you post a job ad for each one. And I typically recommend that you put 3 to 5 up at any one time so that you're covering all those industries. Again, we're moving away from project-based recruitment and we're moving into proactive recruitment. which is I'm going to post those 5 ads, 3 ads, 4 ads, whatever, post those up, and I'm going to maintain them. So every couple of weeks, I'll go take them down. I'll change them a little bit. I'll repost them back up. Indeed has now rolled out sponsorship, a sponsorship kind of mandatory sponsorship option for posting multiple job ads where they have the same job description. So keep that in mind, that recruitment should be something that's in your budget every month. You know, whether it's $100, $200, you know, that's the cost of hiring good employees and being visible. It's the same as marketing, right? You pay that money every single month, not knowing what's going to come in, but you jump on it as soon as it does. It's the same with recruitment. You should have a budget that you're setting aside to keep your team constantly at its optimum level. So yeah, so post your 3 to 5 job ads. And we also have a full system on this in our school course. Again, link in the show notes. We've got trade schools. So if you're lucky enough to live in a town or a city that has a local trade school where they have a program for the skill set that you do, whether it's plumbing, electrical, carpentry, whatever, it might be worth going and building a relationship with the teachers of that program. You can usually find them on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's easy just to find them on the faculty list on the website there. So jump on your website for your local trade school, find out if there's a program for what it is that you do, build a relationship with that teacher, and then maintain that relationship, start to get yourself to a point where you can call first dibs on their top of the class people that are in there. Okay, out of the box. So this is a couple of just little weird ones for you that you can throw in. But if you've got a competitor shop, like a competitor location, you know, maybe it's a carpentry crew or a plumbing crew or an electrical crew, find out if you've got a local competitor in town, maybe a bigger one, and then find out where the staff go for lunch. What's the local cafe, the local fast food place, the local food truck that's there, and try and be there during lunchtime so that you can have conversations with their staff. Now, again, I don't want to get too deep into poaching. I don't think poaching is the best idea. However, if you had the best opportunity in the world and you were looking for the best employee in the world and they just so happen to be working for somebody else, is it fair that they wouldn't get to know about your role that you're recruiting for? No, we want to throw it all out there. And hey, if they leave, they weren't getting a good enough deal in the first place. So we want to make sure that we're conscious of that, right? We don't have to feel too guilty about poaching. But again, we don't want to take someone from an employment opportunity that was solid for them and they really enjoyed it and move that and convince them to come and work for us and give them a worse experience. We want to be super conscious of that. But yeah, so if you've got a competitor shop in town, a really good example of this is if there's a local food truck, get your job ad printed up on some napkins, take them to that food truck and say, hey, give these out to everyone that you see in this kind of uniform. You know, obviously point out your competitor's uniform. And if they do help you land your next employee, go back and look after them, right? $200, $500, $1,000, whatever. Give them something to say, hey, thanks for this. Really appreciate it. But that's a little bit of out of the box stuff where, you know, and again, it comes back to that mindset that an A player, if they're comfortable right now, they're not necessarily looking online. That's a good way for you to get a job ad in somebody's hands who wasn't necessarily looking for a new opportunity, but they would be open to speaking about one. But yeah, that's yeah, you know, you can kind of go as wild as you want here. We have more examples of wild recruitment opportunities in our school group. Okay, personal favorite here, and this is my personal favorite, is I like to make my own, right? If I can't find someone who has the skill set that I'm looking for, I would rather say, how can I have full control over what they learn, when they learn it, and how they learn it by teaching it myself? So if you can't find one, make one. This takes having a dedicated onboarding and training system to take people from zero to hero, right? Like take them from where they are right now to where you want them to be. Always best to just make your own. This keeps your costs down in the beginning because they're typically pretty cheap. If you're just hiring for attitude, you can take, you know, there's a lot of people with really good attitudes out there with no skill set, but it keeps your cost down because you can pay them cheaper in the beginning. You can take control over what and when they learn and how they learn so that they learn the skill set as needed in the timeline that you need for your business. And then also you can start to measure, so you can measure progress, right? Typically we say that technique gets locked down first and then speed and velocity come after. So if you go ham on your onboarding and training process to give them the training, then speed and velocity comes after. So it's an investment up front, but it does start to pay off. Again, keep staying in that vein with hire for attitude, train for skill. Another one that you might not be looking at is potentially looking at junior employees, you know, apprentice programs. And for me, I always want to go to the kind of upper echelon of, younger people before, I start to just train them, right? You can have the best attitude in the world, but you've got other things that you want to do. What I want to look for is I want to look for the team captain of like a local sports team, maybe like a high school football team or a high school hockey team or something like that. And I want to find the team captain because they've already displayed to a coach that they can lead and they can take direction and that they're open and coachable. And that's exactly what you need here. So reaching out to your local high school football team or soccer team or hockey team or whatever and just say, hey guys, I'm always looking for great staff. If you've got any A players on your team, that's exactly who I'm looking for, especially when you get into the summer months, because if you have a seasonal kind of ramp up as things go through the spring into summer, then, typically those people are off school for the summer. They might be looking for opportunities to earn for college. So you can have a temporary employee be an A player. The standard shouldn't drop just because you're not going to have them full time forever. But if you're bringing them in for a summer, try and get the best people that you possibly can. But here's the most important part. You've put all that work into getting an employee, but it is absolutely useless without having the right orientation, the right recruitment system. So how to recruit them, what to say, the scripts, the process, the funnel kind of layers. Without having that, you're not going to get an A player. Without having the orientation system, you're not going to get an A player. Without having the onboarding system, you're not going to have an A player. Without having the training and the pay scales and the alignment meeting frameworks, you're not going to get an A player. So I highly recommend that you jump in and do a bit more training with us to get more training on how to hire an A player, build a culture, to get your hands on all onboarding stuff that we actually put out there that's proven, that's tried, it's tested, it works. Then you can check out our classroom online. It's on School. You'll find a link in the show notes, or you can go into School and you can actually search Conquer Contractor Chaos. You'll see our 2 groups there. We've got our free group, gives you the foundation to start building your business in a predictable, strategic, and scalable way. And then you've got our pro group, which is the library of all of our trainings that are battle tested in our own businesses that are proven with our clients and with us to work to help you get to that next level. So it's not just a classroom though. It's also a community of like-minded go-getter construction business owners who decided to finally conquer the chaos in their own businesses. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, jump into the show notes, click the link. It'll take you straight there. The free group has no paywall. You do not have to put in a credit card number or anything. You just put your name, your email, and then it'll let you in and you can go get 6 weeks of training straight off the bat. We usually charge $5,000 for this course. It's a 6-week boot camp, but you can get it for free on School. So yeah, get into the free one. Once you get through those modules and you implement some of the things in the free group, then you can make the decision to move up to paid, which is our one-on-one and our exclusively paid community, which has a lot more in it. So yeah, find a link in the show notes or search for the Conquer Contractor Chaos group. Again, Conquer Contractor Chaos free or Conquer Contractor Chaos Pro on school.com. Just go to skool.com and then search Conquer Contractor Chaos in the top and you will see our little group pop up. But yeah, guys, this has been a kind of little session on recruitment. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or if you're struggling to hire an A player or you don't even know what an A player is, feel free to reach out. We'd love to help you. And yeah, I will see you on the next one.